Okay, so we know what the hole is like. All right, I've described the conditions to you about what the hole is like. The hole, the shoe, special housing unit. You know all about that from a few videos ago. Now, how do you get into the hole? That's the question. Nobody wants to go, but how does it happen? What is the process, right? So first I told you that you need a lockup order because nothing can happen. They can come up and just say, hey, come with us. Cops will come up and be like, hey, follow us. And you'd be like, yo, what's up? You'd be like, no, just come with us. You'd be like, am I going to the box? No, just come with us. And then that's it. They got you corralled, it's over. So when you're on the rec yard or you're in the unit and you see like 3 or 4 cops come up, you always think, are they coming for me? You know what I mean? And it sucks that they may be coming for somebody else, but you're even a little relieved. You're like, you know what I mean? Because it could be for anything. It could be from a letter you sent. It could be from a phone call you made where you said something maybe that was derogatory to somebody. Somebody misinterpreted it. Could be like, you were talking in code, but it wasn't really about anything crazy. It was just, hey, get that thing from that guy and send this guy over here, or, whatever. It could be, it's a plethora of reasons, right? So you have to have the lockup order. Once you get the lockup order, now you have to be served a shot. Now we call it a shot in the feds, but it's a disciplinary report. And I'm going to show you a disciplinary report. My cat's just knocked it over. Who's better than them, these guys? My God in heaven, they're terrorists. So this is what a disciplinary report looks like, okay? This was mine that I got in Lee County Penitentiary for assaulting another person, okay? So there's the paper that you need to receive. Within 24 hours, they have to serve you a shot within 24 hours. So you get that first piece of paper, you know exactly what it is, right? Now, sometimes it always says 24 hours, but there's actually mitigating circumstances. Say they just lock you up in the hole, give you that lockup order, not the shot, they give you a lockup order, and they say pending investigation. Now, they have to write you a shot within 24 hours that staff becomes aware of the incident. Okay? And it seems pretty cut and dry, but the way they get around things or the way that they, maneuver for policy is that they can say, we were investigating it. We had to lock you up because we found out that maybe there was a fight in the unit and you were responsible for being in the fight. Then they lock you up. Then they investigate it. And sometimes it could take 2 weeks. But they have to write in their notes that at the conclusion of the investigation, we believe that, Mr. Bartolomeo got into a fight, whatever, so-and-so, whatever the case may be is. So sometimes you just be sitting there saying, hey, where's my shot? Where's my shot? We'll give it to you when we're ready. And you're like, oh, I got them beat, because procedurally you can beat them if they don't serve you the shot within 24 hours of staff becoming aware of the incident. Okay, that was my cat chiming in. He wants special guest appearance. That's killer. Hear him? So now you're in the shoe. You already know the conditions you're experiencing in the shoe. Now they come in and they say, okay, well, here's your shot. We found out that, you were responsible for an assault. So here's the shot for the assault. Now, what anybody should start doing once they get this is formulating the reasons why they weren't involved, right? So that's what I always used to do. I always used to appeal. I always used to, have a written response that I would give to the disciplinary hearing officer. You're going to hear the term a lot, a DHO. A DHO is the judge of the disciplinary proceedings, okay? And he is the ultimate arbiter. He is the only one that can take a liberty interest, which is good time. Anybody can take your privileges, but good time, you have a vested liberty interest in your freedom. So your good time is something that's challengeable in federal court, okay? So there's also, before the disciplinary hearing officer hears your case, the ultimate arbiter, you also have something called a UDC, which is a unit disciplinary committee. And that can be comprised of your counselor, your case manager, people can sit in. And what they usually do is they only have a limited power. So you could give your written statement like I always wrote, like, something written like this because they could never misconstrue my words. I would write it down, because sometimes you go into the DHO and they, you say like, hey, look, I know you see me coming out of the door with something from the kitchen, and then they turn that into, well, you admitted you came out of the door with something from the kitchen, so you're guilty. You know what I mean? So they could never misconstrue my words if I wrote them. I wrote them and handed them. This is a written opposition to the disciplinary report. All right. So it's just my my written statement as opposed to a verbal statement. And I always thought it's better to write them down. And I told everybody. I used to get in trouble in jail. So this is how I know so much about the system. Later on in my bid, I didn't, but I helped a lot of people. And I had pretty good results. Because procedurally, they just basically do anything and nobody really challenges them. But then you do have a small percentage of people that do. And, I won a couple shots. This shot here, I didn't win because I didn't really appeal it because the circumstances of this case is, this was something about somebody sitting at the wrong table and I assaulted them for sitting at the wrong table after a little bit of negotiation with their homeboys and stuff. So it wasn't like I just ran over and sucker punched the guy, but after a lot of negotiation and saying, hey, this guy shouldn't be sitting there. I don't know why he's sitting there. And the guy's like, I don't know why he is either, So after it was like the last kind of straw, I just, I assaulted him. And that's the basis of this disciplinary report, is I had an assault on somebody. And so the UDC, what happens, and I'll take you through the process in this, is I got locked up. First people I see is my UDC. That's within 7 days. So there wasn't really much to this. They didn't have to investigate it. So I got it right when I walked in the door. They had this for me. They said, you got into a fight in the chow hall in front of God and everybody. We seen it. I seen my UDC. They're like, hey, we're recommending this. And there was nothing really I could fight. But, so I usually write a written statement of facts. I did that later, because they were trying to keep me in the hole past my time. They were trying to transfer me and keep me in the hole for a year. So I wrote to the AW, and I'll get to that later. The circumstances of this case is pretty wild. As you'll see, it's really wild, actually. They tried to give me more time. They sent all this information out to the FBI and tried to prosecute me. And that does happen in the feds. I don't know about the state and everything. I'm sure it does. I'm sure they send anything. I mean, obviously, if somebody gets murdered, they're going to send the liaison to the FBI is going to send the paperwork to the FBI, and they're going to prosecute you. For us, it was the SIA, which is the Special Investigating Agent. That was the liaison to the outside law enforcement agencies within any institution. SIS is Special Investigative Services. I believe those are the investigators. So after I got served the shot, I see my UDC. My UDC said, we're just going to recommend 30 days for a fight. And actually, the circumstances of the fight were wild. It's about somebody sitting at a table. And, those penitentiaries are racially divisive environments anyway. And that's basically what the crux of the argument was there at that time. So I went to see the UDC. They recommended procedurally, they're going to recommend 30 days loss of good time, and, that's it. And then disciplinary time, whatever the DHO deems fit. So then when I did see the DHO, it was actually delayed. I'm going to show you something. And this is, because somebody disputed this, I had it on a podcast I did with Ian Bick about the circumstances of this, which I have every single piece of paperwork imaginable in my case. I can show you every document. So this is a UDC extension of time, right? Okay, so I didn't even see the UDC first. I couldn't see any governing body in the feds. So that's telling me, but my UDC has been extended. They've requested an extension of time because they're sending everything out to the FBI for prosecution. So they wanted to prosecute me for a simple fight in a chow hall. That's what they wanted to prosecute me for assaulting somebody. They were trying to say there was different circumstances than it really was, but in the penitentiary setting, it's much different than it is in real life. So anyway, I waited, I think, about 6 months. So I stayed in the hole, doing no time, no hold time, no nothing. I was just waiting for a decision to see if the feds were going to prosecute me for a fight that I got into in jail. So I waited an extra 6 months. Nothing happened. I just was in the hole. But what happened during that time is I became friendly with a lot of the runners out there, and they recommended that I be let out to help them to be an orderly, right? So I was in there for so long. So that ended up happening, but after the events that I'll explain to you. So finally, the FBI came back and they said, well, we're not going to take the case. We're not going to prosecute it, which was a relief, right? Everybody thought it. Everybody said, oh, it's so crazy. But, crazy things happen. Crazier is that they actually sent it out. This was an assault that, the guy was bleeding, he got punched in the face and stuff like that and left in a table, but it wasn't no weapon or anything like that, And then, what happened was there was kind of a riot setting in the chow hall, so that kind of gave everybody a little pause, and they were like, oh my God, this stuff could jump off here. And it was a relatively new joint, Lee County Penitentiary, and there was a lockdown there. People were giving bag lunches for 2 weeks. I talked about it on the interview I did with Ian Bick, the podcast. But anyway, finally went to my UDC, finally went to my DHO, and the DHO said that, she's going to recommend, it was a female, she's going to recommend 30 days in SHU. And I was like, I just did 6 months. And she was like, well, that's the sanction. They can do what they want, but I'm recommending a disciplinary transfer for you instigating a fight. So at that point, now, mind you, I'm still in the SHU every day. This is one of those protracted stays in the SHU where I was like, I just want to get the hell out of here. So now after that, procedurally, it's a 3-page report from the DHO, from the disciplinary hearings officer, right? That's page 1. This is page 2. It's how they base their conclusion to find you of guilty, what they found you guilty of. And this is what you have to challenge afterwards. The date they gave it to you, the statement of reasons they relied on to find you guilty. And there's a stringent test that procedurally all this stuff goes through. And, there's cases in the law library where you can challenge your disciplinary proceedings. And for the most part, you're never going to win one unless they take your good time. Then, as I said before, that raises a liberty interest, and then you have standing in federal court. You can't file a lawsuit because they took your commissary or your phone calls. You just can't do it. You can file at the institutional level, at the regional level, and at the national level with the BP 8, 9, 10, and 11. You can do that, and you could possibly get play. Your best chance is at the regional level. That's where I've had a lot of successes at the regional level, challenging, my conditions of confinement. So after you receive that, what you could do is you could challenge it, okay? So now I filed on them, and I filed only because this is an informal resolution, a BP8. But what I did was, there was an associate warden there. It was a black associate warden. His name was A.W. Jones. And he was a sweetheart, right? He was a really good guy. I had a very good rapport with him. I had, talked back and forth with him while I was in the hole for that protracted amount of time. And I was like, hey, A.W., listen, you could talk to everybody on this line. Everybody knows me. That ain't indicative of my character. I don't get into fights in the chow hall. This was an isolated incident. It was, because everybody else knows the norms, right? And how to act in prison. This is one guy that ended up having psychological problems. I don't know what his problem was, but he was the oddball, and he really took a liking to me, and he was like, I understand. I have been talking. People have been coming. And that's when my friend Gigi Portella was with me in Lee County, and he got everybody in the institution to go talk to the AW. Ultimately, I got out. So when I wrote this letter to A.W. Jones, right, it's a 3-page letter just explaining what happened, my record in prison. So they treated that as a BP8, right? So that's why they treated it as a BP8. I didn't actually file on it. But for him to receive this letter, he just said, I'm going to have them file it as a BP8, as a grievance. So what this says is, this is a response to the informal resolution. you state that you have no concerns that will prevent you from release and you'll be all right and you can handle yourself in general population. And it says on May 25th, 2003, you were involved in an assault of another inmate which caused the facility to be locked down. The investigation into this matter has been conducted and recommendations considered. On July 11, 2003, you verbally requested this concern be informally resolved by having your concerns addressed during a meeting of the associate warden and captain. It said a meeting will be scheduled in the near future. They were coming down to the shoe every, like every week they come down. They have we call it the dog and pony show. But, and I would talk to them, and at that point in time, what A.W. Jones did was suggest that I come out as an orderly to interact with the other orderlies of all races. And that was great. I got along with everybody. I was talking to them anyway. They were like, yeah, we're going to try to get you out. Because, the inmates, of course, we have a lot of influence on what the officers do, And because they want to go home after 8 hours. They don't want to have a wreck, you know what I'm saying? So they know who's who and what's what. And so I ended up getting out. I ended up, it was really cool too because I was locked in for so long. It was nice to get out. I was doing the floors. I was hanging out. I was cleaning. I was on this phone in the office they let me use. It was great. They had all the food I used to take care of at night and anything, the orderlies left you food from lunch. You left them food from dinner. So we kind of took care of each other. And, they seen this, and ultimately they let me back out on the compound. So I think I spent, 7 months in the hole, 8 months in the hole there. And I remember that I was working at night, so they used to crack my door and say, come on. So one day they cracked my door and they go, hey, you're getting out. And I looked at the cop and I went, yeah, all right. You want me to get ready? And he's like, no, you're getting out. I was like, come on, stop busting my balls. He was like, I got a release order from you. It just came from the captain. You're getting out today. And I was like, I was excited about that. So I ended up getting out as a result of, everybody politicking for me. And, when you live good, no matter what environment you're in, you conduct yourself, as a reasonably stand-up guy and a good guy. There's a million rats in jail. And, I don't care what people say. Everybody associates with everybody, So at the penitentiary level, you try we weed them out as best we can, but always some slip through the cracks. And everybody, from every geographical area, everybody tries to clean up their own backyard. But when you get into these lower security places, nobody really doing anything about them. You just coexist with them, So, and that might be like a dirty little secret people don't want you to know. But when you're in these camps and in these lows, there's everything walking around. It's not like more pedophiles than there is, solid guys. Solid guys are like the minority in these lows. So the happy ending to this story is I finally did get out, and there was no problems. They said that they were looking for they talked to all the gang guys on the yard. They talked to all the guys from geographical areas, but they said there might be a lone wolf. He might try to do something to you. And I was like, I can assure you that I can handle myself no matter what. And they're like, well, we're not worried about that. We just don't want another disturbance in the institution. That's the thing. They're concerned about their officers. So why? It would make sense just to transfer somebody if there's even a question he's going to be a problem, or he's going to cause a problem, or there's going to be, a bad ripple effect, right? Just get them out of there. It's simple. Simple for the staff, simple for everybody. All they do is put you in handcuffs and shackles. So I got to say that A.W. Jones in this situation, and all the administrators there, were, really, really decent with me. And, I caused a disturbance. We caused a serious disturbance that day. People, they had the beanbag guns out, the riot gear on. And, they were bracing for all hell to break loose. And a little bit of it did, And then once they contained it, they locked everybody down because they didn't know the repercussions of it. And me and a bunch of my friends were in the hole. And everybody else got out but me. But I got out 7 months later. I think that's a common thread that runs through a lot of my stuff. Is everybody gets out, and then I get out later. But, so that's it for now. With this, like this stuff, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends if you like it. And we got another one in the books. Another one down and another one coming. Thank you for watching.